Hi, it's David from Lifeboat, and I'll get right into it. When I wanted to start redoing these videos, I thought I'd leave the lockdown topic in the past because we've kind of moved away from the case against lockdown to the consequences of lockdown, that being the huge financial crisis and financial implications that the lockdown caused. But I mean, just this week, there's been so much in the news that's pertinent, and you've probably seen these lockdown files, and it's talking a lot about conversations that members of the British cabinet had with each other, and talking about how to make lockdown more strict and violate British civil liberties as much as they could. But what we really like to see, in my opinion, is the WhatsApp messages from these international organizations to British leadership, with British leaders undermining the democratic authority that the British people have. Where are the WhatsApp messages from the IMF to Rishi? Where are the WhatsApp messages from the World Health Organization to Chris Whitty? Where are the WhatsApp messages from the World Economic Forum to Boris Johnson? That's what I'd really like to see. I mean, it's all very interesting them throwing Matt Hancock under the bus, because Matt Hancock's a total and complete sociopath. That was obvious on day one, and Matt Hancock has some serious human defects, and really the blame should lie with whoever put him in the healthcare position. Probably Boris Johnson, but obviously other members of the Conservative Party thought he was somehow a good guy, and for some reason didn't notice his total lack of human empathy and the authoritarian characteristics he possesses in his personality. I mean, there are even some of the people in Parliament feigning surprise, a few months back when he was appearing on I'm a Celebrity, as if like, wow, we could never have expected Matt Hancock to go on I'm a Celebrity. But of course, when you're a sociopath, this is how you behave. You're all about you. And that's what Matt Hancock's all about. So of course he's going to go on I'm a Celebrity. But this WhatsApp stuff, I think, is somewhat revealing, although unsurprising. And but what we'd really like to see, in my opinion, is how these international organizations, the unelected, the self-appointed, undermine British democracy, and how British leaders let these international organisations undermine the British government and undermine the power of the British people. And I think that's what the lockdown, really taught me more than anything, and hopefully taught you. I mean, there was this story, as I mentioned just a couple of days ago, about how the British military was spying on people like me who were speaking out against lockdown, who had the guts to speak out publicly against it, and maybe some of you as well. Where are the WhatsApp messages that were going to the British military saying you have to spy on British citizens exercising their God-given freedoms, their earned freedoms through victory in the Second World War, their freedoms outlined in the English Bill of Rights. So where are those WhatsApp messages? Who was directing the British military to spy on British citizens? Was it Matt Hancock? Was it Boris Johnson? Was it Central Intelligence? Was it the World Economic Forum? That's what I'd really like to find out about. There's also this other story that I mentioned about how, America's decided that the virus came from the lab, as if that wasn't obvious straight away. And I have very firm belief that the person running the lab was a British citizen who should be held accountable. You can't really mention it here on YouTube without getting banned, but I encourage you to do your own research. If a British citizen is in charge of the lab where the virus came from, do you not think he should be placed under arrest? Do you not think he should be interviewed? What about the British media? Are they going to go to the lab, maybe interview some of the people that work there? How did this accident happen? Which room did it come out of? Who was funding the lab? Was it the American CDC? Why are we not getting the full story up to this point? Why has it changed now? Is it something to do with the fact that China's supporting Russia in the Ukraine war, and we want to badmouth or create a bad public impression of China, link their releasing of the virus from the lab located in China to them as opposed to us? And again, why would China support Russia in the war? I thought they were losing. I thought Ukraine were winning. Why is China not supporting Ukraine if they want to be on the winning side? So lots of interesting things going on in the world. I also want to raise the point about, just very briefly, on the Brexit deal that I mentioned the other day, and I wondered aloud, what would Theresa May be thinking? And it seemed like as soon as I'd said that, Theresa May got up in Parliament and started talking about how much she loved the Rishi Brexit deal and, what a great thing it was. And, I don't know the ins and outs of the Rishi Brexit deal, but I know that if he's thrilled with it, if von der Leyen's thrilled with it, and if Theresa May is thrilled with it, it is an extremely bad deal for you and for Britain, because these people are out to undermine Brexit. Theresa May's whole reputation is based on undermining Brexit, and obviously this Northern Ireland deal with the green and the red lanes allows for EU trade or EU goods to flow into Britain and not be subject to British tariffs, and freedom of movement can occur through the Irish border. So you really need a hard border in Northern Ireland, in my opinion, and the Rishi Brexit deal totally undermines it, which is why Theresa May likes it so much. I don't know if Theresa May decided to get up there in Parliament as a result of my video. I doubt she watches my videos because I want to appeal to an audience of people with integrity, and Theresa May, she has absolutely no integrity. So, maybe someone with integrity tipped her off or something, but I highly doubt she watches my videos because this is all about upholding British civil liberties, and she is all about undermining British civil liberties. So a lot of interesting things going on. I am over here in the country of Georgia, like I said, and I want to talk to more people about opportunities in Georgia, about opportunities outside of Britain. I'm all about Britain. If people want to live in Britain and invest there, I'm all for that. And but if people say, hey, you know what other options are out there? How can we diversify our investments internationally in case lockdown comes back, in case, people like Matt Hancock get back in charge, start WhatsApping everyone about how we've got to throttle British freedoms, how we've got to arrest Nigel Farage, how we've got to arrest you for speaking out. People might want to diversify their investments. I like to be outside, walking around Tbilisi, Georgia, showing you the beautiful scenery. Today is a little wet, so I did this video inside, but great opportunities in Georgia and, lot of problems. I was speaking to someone just a couple of days ago, and they were saying, what's the big thing about Georgia? And I mean, what we really have, a lot of life is costs and benefits. And the cost of living here is probably about 70% lower than Britain, but the quality of living is not 70% lower by any means. I mean, it's maybe 10, 20% lower in some things. You don't quite get all the home comforts, but that's changing. I think we can get up to 100% of standards of living in Britain for a fraction of the cost. And I think the direction of travel is going in the right way in some of these countries with low debt. They have more money to invest in infrastructure, and they are attracting more foreign investment through favourable tax regimes, and whereas Britain is going the other way. It's encouraging capital flight out of the country as debt rises. And that's going to put a knock-on effect on infrastructure, on public services and quality of living for the British people, which I do not want. I just want to end on, just a sort of geopolitical point. I mean, Britain, all the things I've said in this video, Britain with its love of these unelected international organizations, with its love of undermining the Brexit deal, Britain has become a country that's desperate to do business and trade with only the most indebted countries in the world, whether it's through the EU, whether it's through the United States. It's almost like in 10 Downing Street, they say, which is the most indebted country in the world? Let's do business with them. What's the second most indebted country in the world? Let's do business with them. I guess Britain is so indebted, they only feel comfortable working with other countries that are as indebted as Britain is. But what about looking at the other end of the list, the least indebted countries in the world? Why don't we try and find those, do business with those? That's the opportunity that Brexit provides. You see in the news media, we're always looking at the costs of Brexit that we currently have. but we do not look at the costs of EU membership, which theoretically we would not have if we did a proper Brexit and if we started trading with countries that have genuine wealth, that have genuine high quality goods produced at low cost, that we can trade with honestly, rather than giving them our fake money for their real goods, which these countries are about to turn their back on. So a lot of change is happening in the world. I really think there's great opportunities through this transition for people that are smart about being out of debt, being cash rich, and really looking at the direction of travel, where we're going rather than where we've been. I always want the best for Britain, but with the current leadership in Britain running up hundreds of billions of dollars a year in debt on top of the trillions we already have, I don't think that leads to a prosperous future. And I want to come up with solutions of how we can try and mitigate the problem, having not headed off the lockdown, which would have significantly helped. So I hope you like this video. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we'll talk to you soon.